Hi everyone, welcome back to Splash Page, and today we're going to be talking about the season finale of Silo, Season 1, and the episode is entitled Outside. I want to say I've had such a great time with this first season. Not many shows have the balls to go into the first 4 episodes and in each one of those episodes kill a main character. But Silo did it, and it managed to still bring the story together around the Juliette character while introducing even more characters that I actually care about. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the way that this show is written. The finale episode opens right where episode 9 left off, and that's another thing I love about this show. It feels like we're watching it in real time. The gaps between episodes are minutes or seconds, not weeks or months like they are in some other shows. It's as if we've been watching this the whole time. While still in Patrick Kennedy's apartment, they finish watching the Jane Carmi video. Juliette wants to broadcast it everywhere throughout the silo to share the truth with everyone. But she knows Bernard is tracking them. Bernard has figured out a way around the patch that Danny, the IT guy from the last episode, set up, and they send raiders to Patrick Kennedy's apartment. Juliette decides to risk going down the garbage chute, which seems incredibly dangerous, but there's a ladder in there, so they are able to get off that floor without being seen. As Bernard and Sims look on from the janitorial closet, Sims receives a message from Jean Robinson, and it says that during the search of Juliette Nichols' apartment, Deputy Paul Billings approached and requested access, but entry was denied. This was the young female judicial member who seemed to actually appreciate Billings for the class he taught on the Pact, but it does seem like she's following orders, and she reports him. I don't see this ending well for Billings. Sims then leaves the janitorial closet and goes to talk to Billings and the sheriff's office. Billings lies and says that he went to Juliette's because he thought if he could find something in her apartment, he'd be able to understand why she asked to go outside. We do know that Billings found the book, Amazing Adventures Georgia, and then burned it. He did also rip out a page, so there's got to be something about finding that book that still intrigues him. Sims notices that Billings is standing strangely and holding his left hand with his right. It's now clear that Sims is aware that Billings has the syndrome. Patrick Kennedy, Juliette, and Danny get out of the garbage chute on floor 126. They plug the hard drive into this little computer and begin linking screens to broadcast the Jane Carmi cleaning. This leads to everyone in the janitorial closet seeing the video. Bernard demands that all of the people in the janitorial closet shut their eyes, and that includes Sims. Bernard, in a mad panic, then gets the Jane Carmi video off the screens. Bernard then threatens everyone who saw it by saying, "What you have just seen, you will unsee." However, I'd like you to see the like and subscribe button for this video and our channel. Even with this being the finale, we will keep making Silo content, so follow along with us here at Splash Page. Also, in the description, there are links to the book trilogy that this show is based on. If you buy through the link, we make a small commission at no cost to you, and it really helps this channel grow. Back to the episode. Karen, one of the deputies, says that she found the 2 men, which is likely Danny and Patrick Kennedy, and Bernard figures out that Juliette is using the trash chute to get up and down to different floors. Karen opens up the trash chute, and sure enough, Juliette is climbing down the side. The deputies and judicial raiders start throwing heavy metal objects down the chute in an attempt to knock Juliette down, and actually kill her. Juliette must have gotten down pretty far because by the time they get this giant air conditioner looking thing to the chute to throw that at Juliette, she just lets go of the ladder and falls down into the trash pile, where people are scavenging, and they grab her immediately and pull her off the top of the pile right before this air conditioner thing would have crushed her and killed her. We know that Juliette is well liked in the Down Deep, so let's see how they react to her being there. Okay, well, never mind. Almost as soon as we see Martha taking care of Juliette, Knox comes in and says that Judicial is in the Down Deep, and that he's actually the one that contacted them to turn Juliette in. Knox seems sad about it, but you can tell he really thought that this is the only way to keep everyone down there alive. Sims and Bernard burst into Martha's shop. Sims is absolutely incensed with Juliette for threatening his wife and kids, but Bernard kicks him out of the room. Bernard then smashes the hard drive and says that he's going to put Juliette in shackles, but he has a deal for her in order to prevent a rebellion. He says that Juliette needs to stop denying that she says she wants to go outside, and she has to waive her rights to a judicial hearing. In exchange, he will give her what she wants, an answer to what happened to George. And Bernard says he'll do better than just tell her what happened, he'll show her. Juliette is then placed in shackles and removed from the Down Deep. Shirley and Martha talk, and Martha wants Shirley not to be mad at Knox. Knox had no real choice in her opinion. They also talk about how Juliette stole the heat tape and how Shirley thinks that's why Bernard is so pissed at her. And it looks like Martha still has some of the tape, or some type of tape. Martha then steps out of her shop, which is the first time she's left in over 20 years. She appears very determined but very afraid. Martha then knocks on a door, and it's her ex-wife Carla, who we've only heard about in previous episodes. They talk about the heat tape again, and say that the heat tape in mechanical is much better than what they had in IT, or supply, which Martha says doesn't make any sense, unless it does. So by Juliette stealing the heat tape, Martha was able to figure out that there are two different types of heat tape. That seems odd. We've known about Juliette stealing the heat tape since the second episode or so, but it now seems like they're bringing it up a lot this episode. So why do they keep telling us about this damn heat tape? While walking up the silo in shackles, many of the residents of the silo are out watching her walk. Bernard has her unshackled, and Sims, Bernard, and Juliette walk into the janitorial closet, where they reveal to Juliette the surveillance. They are able to rewind and show Juliette what actually happened to George Wilkins on the stairs. Not going to lie, it's a bit of a gut punch. It looks like Doug Trumbull had Wilkins, and Wilkins was able to escape, and then decides, rather than being tortured and give up the hard drive, George climbs onto the railing and intentionally falls off the silo, committing suicide. But I hesitate to call it that. Juliette takes this about as well as you can imagine. We then see Juliette getting fitted for a suit to go out to clean. She seems angry but resigned to the fact that that's what's going to happen to her. Back in the janitorial closet, Bernard tells Sims that he was a bit rash questioning whether or not Sims was ready to be his shadow, and that they'll discuss it more after Juliette's cleaning. Juliette is locked up in the cell, and I'm assuming this is holding cell 3, just like Holston and Allison were. Her father comes to visit and brings her some food. She apologizes to her father for blaming him for everything related to her mother, and he asks why she said she wanted to go outside. She says that she didn't, but before she stops her sentence, she remembers that there's a camera, so she changes the subject. Back in IT, we see Bernard at his old desk, and they bring in Lucas handcuffed. Because Lucas helped Bernard and Judicial find Juliette by telling them that the hard drive had an 18 on it, he won't be set out to clean. However, he is sentenced to 10 years in the mine, where he'll be hauling iron ore. I don't believe we know exactly what the mines or where the mines are, but that sounds like a brutal punishment. Bernard also is intentionally cruel when he mentions that Lucas won't be seeing the lights in the sky that he's been tracking for years in the cafeteria. He calls Lucas curious, which now we know is almost a curse in the silo. My question is, who's going to take care of Lucas's mother now? We then see a chest that says sensory wool being brought to Juliette, and these are rolls of heat tape. More tape references. Shirley then also brings Juliette food, and Juliette is full because she says everyone is bringing her food. However, Shirley pretty much says, you're gonna want to take this from me, and Walker says that you're gonna want to keep the tin that it's in. As soon as Shirley leaves, Juliette takes the tin over to the corner where the camera can't see and pulls out a little note. You wanted the truth. The truth is I love you. Have no fear. They're good in supply. And we assume this is from Walker. This is a bit of a cryptic message, but if you remember, Martha was talking to Carla, who works in supply, about tape. We then revisit with Billings and his wife Kat, and he tells her that Sims is aware that he has the syndrome. He says that he's not fired and they don't have to move, that the mayor and Sims granted him an exemption so he can continue to work and actually be promoted to sheriff. My guess is that Bernard and Sims think they can easily control Billings, especially now that they have kind of this blackmail of the knowledge of the syndrome and can remove him at any point if he doesn't follow their orders. Bernard and Juliette begin to talk. Bernard says he takes no pleasure in any of this and he wants to quit basically every single day but can't. Juliette says that she has no regrets in taking the sheriff's job. She then says that her trouble all started when she stole that tape. And Bernard actually says one of the most messed up things I've ever heard. He says, "No, your problem started at conception." And that her parents weren't supposed to have kids, but mistakes happen. Which furthers the idea of how much control they have inside of the silo, because he calls her a mistake. She does bring up the tape again, which is like the fourth or fifth time that this happened this episode. And then Bernard says that everything was okay and she was actually helpful down in mechanical, but once she took over as sheriff, she started looking into George Wilkins' death and she became a mortal threat to the survival of the entire silo. Juliet asks if Bernard also had her mother killed, and he says no, that was her choice. So it does lead again to some kind of suicide, similar maybe to what happened to George Wilkins. Juliet then presses Bernard on why people can't go outside, and she says she knows that the screens are a giant lie, and she knows about the doors down beneath the silo that George found. And when we cut to Bernard, it kind of looks like he's confused or angry here. Maybe he doesn't know about the doors at the bottom of the silo, or maybe he doesn't know where those doors go. Finally, Bernard congratulates her for drawing the largest audience ever to watch a cleaning, and says it's even larger than Holston's. Then Juliet says defiantly that she will not clean. Her last request was to get Holston's badge, the badge that Holston carved the word truth into. Bernard, back in his office, takes the smashed hard drive and removes this disk from it. Does Bernard know what's on the hard drive? Does he know everything that was on the hard drive? There are a ton of files on there. Ah, the heat tape. Apparently, it's used to wrap around the wrists and ankles of the suit. And because we know that Martha replaced the tape from supply with the tape from the Down Deep, it's the better stuff. So it won't allow air to leak in like the crappier tape did. Juliet's last words are, "I'm not afraid." The process is the same as we saw for Holston, where there's almost a ceremony to sending someone out to clean. And then we see Juliet go outside. She sees the same green trees and grass and blue skies, and then the birds. The same birds in the Jane Carmi cleaning that we as viewers know is a trick. But the question is, will she realize it? Because Holston did not. Allison did not. But she does. We have a flashback to the computer screen, and she says the display is a lie. She notices that there are no dead bodies, and she turns around to begin to walk to the camera. Everyone assumes she's going to clean, and she takes out the wool, but rather than cleaning it, she drops it in a defiant manner. She doesn't clean, and she begins to walk off. People inside of the silo are upset, but Bernard says that she'll be done before she reaches the tree, and on cue, Juliet begins to struggle. She falls very close to where Holston and Allison are, and Bernard says, right on schedule. She struggles a bit more. She reaches out and notices that she can't see Holston or Allison, but she can feel them. She then puts the badge on Holston's dead body as almost a statement that Holston showed her the truth. Bernard, then very afraid, says she knows and storms off. Bernard goes down to a room marked server room, opens it with the keychain marked 18 that we first saw in the previous episode. Juliet stands up again and is able to walk over the hill, and everyone inside the silo is shocked. She still sees the green, beautiful earth and a mountain range in the background. And then her helmet display starts to glitch and then turn off. We see it's not green outside, but instead desolate, and there's a decaying city in the distance. So the world is poison, and they are seeing the real thing on the displays inside the silo. But the way they've gotten people to clean is by faking it and making it look like it's a green world, so people actually think cleaning will help people see the truth. We then pull back and see that there are not just one silo, but tons of them all around her. Holy crap. Not trying to pat myself on the back here, but in the last episode I did say that maybe the 18 on the keychain means that this is the 18th silo. So there are others. But to be completely wrong, I guess that the outside world might not be poisonous and that the poison was coming from inside the suit, which it appears is not the case. So if I have to make a guess right now based on what we're seeing, the world is poison. The suit will help someone survive outside, but it was the faulty tape that was allowing the air to get into the suit. People are cleaning because they have a lie in the display showing that the world is clean and think that they can make some kind of statement by cleaning to the people inside of the silo to reveal the truth, to lift the wool from off of their eyes. What a finale episode, and honestly, knowing that there's a season 2 coming, I'm so excited for where this show goes. The stakes had to be increased, and by introducing additional silos, it certainly does that. We also assume that the other silos have the same situation going on. Even though we don't see any dead bodies because we're so far away, we do see these little cement areas where the cameras would be. So what's Juliette going to do? Where is she going to go? Why did Bernard turn off the simulation? Does he want Juliette to wander around and actually see what's outside with all these other silos around? Why are there so many silos? And why aren't they allowed to communicate to each other? What is the big door underneath the silo, and where does it go? Does it connect to these other silos? So have they been communicating, but people in the silo just aren't aware of that? So many awesome questions to be answered in Season 2. Thanks everyone for watching along with us. Please like and subscribe to this channel as we'll keep making silo content. Really looking forward to what you have to say down in the comments. Well, that's it from me. Take it easy, YouTube.